and interest obligations, while the national government will cover 70%. Congruent with this, the budget speech in March this year, the Gauteng Provincial Treasury announced that as part of the province's arrangement to service the debt, a provision for honoring this commitment has been penciled into the 2024 fiscal framework. The obligation to service this debt has necessitated the implementation of a host of reforms and measures to maintain a healthy fiscal environment that will be both sustainable and manageable in the long term. Today, the Gauteng provincial government is starting the process to service the historical debt of 12.9 billion in 5 equal annual installments at a government 5-year interest rate. The first installment that we are paying today amounts to 3.8 billion, and the HOD told me that the money is already in the account. So we've processed, we've paid 3.8 billion minus our, it's minus in our account. So we're 3.8 billion poorer, but not bankrupt. We are not bankrupt. So that's very important. We will never be bankrupt because the finances of the province are in good hands. So we can't be bankrupt. And we are also paying a maintenance portion of about 546 million. The implication of the e-toll debt requires the provincial government to manage finances in a prudent manner whilst carefully balancing the service delivery needs of the citizens. The Gauteng Provincial Treasury has a 5-year budget approach that will facilitate provincial delivery based on the medium-term development plan for the 7th administration. The 5-year budget approach will focus on introducing and implementing immediate, short and medium-term budget reforms over the 2025 MTEF. This includes maintaining fiscal discipline and credibility and impactful service delivery. The fiscal trajectory of Gauteng provincial government must be addressed through a combination of active debt management strategies and spending restraints that improves the primary fiscal balance and elimination of wastage and leakages in the system. The province will need to allocate a substantial amount of funds each year for the next 5 years to meet the repayment obligations. Therefore, to address these fiscal challenges, the Gauteng Provincial Treasury is working with revenue collecting departments to identify alternative sources of revenue. This aims to ensure that the frontline services remains uncompromised, prioritizing programs that foster growth, safeguarding essential social services for vulnerable members of society, maintaining the provision of basic services in the province. Given the maintenance of fiscal discipline, the province will prioritize the reprioritization of budgets, identification of efficiency gains, and making trade-offs to fund the government priorities. Fiscal discipline requires that government maintains fiscal positions that are consistent with macroeconomic stability and sustained economic growth. Furthermore, provincial departments and entities must explore alternative sources of funding to supplement the existing constrained revenue streams and thus enhance fiscal sustainability over the long term. Partnerships with the private sector, donor funding, developmental finance are among the possible alternative funding sources. The provincial government also views public-private partnerships as a key vehicle to not only deliver infrastructure, but for its ability to stimulate the economy, create jobs, and deliver projects within cost, time, and quality, whilst providing the upfront funding for these projects. Therefore, Triple Ps with revenue-raising potential will be prioritized. Our position is that any approach to the market for funding should be premised on securing funding to finance strategic infrastructure projects which have sound economic benefits to the province, create jobs, raise revenue, and potentially provide an avenue to pay back the e-toll debt. This approach is more sustainable and will prove far more beneficial to the citizens of Gauteng, with far more positive spin-offs than borrowing to pay a debt of e-toll. The 2025 budget will see a conclusion of the 2025 budget will see a conclusion of the National Fiscal Consolidation Strategy announced in the National 2020 Medium-Term Budget Policy Statement, with that stabilizing primary surplus achieved in 2025-2026, a reduction in the fiscal deficit to pre-COVID levels, and a stabilization of debt service costs as a percentage of revenue. The Gauteng provincial government is therefore confident that through the measures and reforms mentioned above, the province will be able to service the e-toll debt, simultaneously providing much needed services to the citizens of Gauteng, whilst reaping the benefits of the spin-offs of proposed economic infrastructure initiatives. It is in this context that the provincial government would like to assure residents of Gauteng that we will not compromise our priorities in social services such as health and education. So we won't be retrenching teachers, we won't be cutting on scholar transport, school nutrition. So rest assured that despite the fact that we have constraints and difficulties, we are doing everything in our power, working with national government to ensure that service delivery is not affected. So the Gauteng provincial government is committed to continually engaging and working together with all stakeholders, particularly the residents of Gauteng, to explore adequate and stable funding solutions for road construction, maintenance, and upgrade to support economic growth and development. So that's, and as the department facilitate the strengthening of the finances, it is also important to reiterate that the user pay principle remains a government policy, and that the Gauteng provincial government is committed to continually engaging and working together with all stakeholders, as I've said, and particularly the residents. So we would like to thank you very much, and we will take questions.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. HOD, maybe just deal with the issue of the interest rate in DDG. How much is it? I'm not sure if you have the figure of the whole amount. Remember, it's not us who are owed, it's SANRAL. So we are not owed. So SANRAL built roads, and they were the implementing agency. People were supposed to pay as part of the user pay principle, but as you know, people were not happy with it, and government decided that there has to be a way found to pay back that money. So in that process, we agreed that we will take 30% of that amount, and then national government will take 70%. So what it means is that SANRAL went to the markets to borrow money to upgrade these freeways, and with the hope that people will be paid. But people said, no, we don't want to pay via an e-toll system. So that's what we are dealing with here. And that's why we might not have that figure, because it's not us who are owed. It's SANRAL, but unfortunately now we must pay on behalf of all of you. All of you, you all have cars, you're using freeway, so you are driving for free. We are paying for all of you. That's what is happening, and that's why that question I'll come back to. What happens to people who are owed or who paid for e-tolls? Did you understand, DG?
All right. Good morning,
My name is Numi Samyani, as indicated. Oh, my voice, all right. So what is, I think MEC has covered the issue of road users who still owe debt, as indicated. So the strategy will come from SANRA. In terms of where is the 3.8 billion coming from, as the MEC statement has indicated, that when we tabled the budget in March in the current financial year, this figure was reflected. It might have been below the line, but it's a figure that was in there, and we are using the Provincial Revenue Fund in terms of paying this. But the source, it's about the revenue streams, as it has been, the question was asked. So firstly, we have existing revenue streams, and the studies that we've done, we've realized that there could be more efficiencies in terms of how we're dealing with the collection of this revenue. So it's about improving processes, for an example, on how we collect this money. The Department of Health, for an example, processes claims with the the road accident funds. So it's how we can be more efficient in collecting that revenue. As you're also aware that we have cross-province in terms of the services that we render as far as health is concerned specifically, and how do we make sure that whatever claims we have against other provinces are collected where it is due and payable. And also we're exploring other options in terms of looking at what is possible. And unfortunately at this point in time, because there is consultation that still needs to happen, whatever revenue streams you introduce into the system, I would say some of them it would be premature for us to be talking about them, but when the time comes we will talk to those details when that particular stream has been properly consulted and we've got the go-ahead. But small things like we have implementing agents when it comes to us collecting motor vehicle licenses. We were working with other government agencies, for example, your post office and municipalities. But a simple thing of tweaking which bank account the money goes. So initially those agencies will collect the money and pay it over to ourselves. But we change the banking details to say the money should come directly to us, and then we will pay them the commission, because sometimes we find that we struggle to get the money to the bank account of the provinces, and we all know that with the economic situation sometimes there are delays in paying over that money. So I think it will call for another session, especially when we have the revenue enhancement strategy that would have been properly consulted and approved, and we make sure that then we can share with all of you in terms of what is going ahead. And then so I think it also covers the issue of revenue collection in that regard. We're trying to go around how we can improve how we collect by ensuring that the money hits our bank account first, and we pay the commission of our implementing agents over to them, rather than the money starting with them and they pay over whatever is left from our side. We've started piloting that, and it has proven to be quite efficient in terms of what we do. The 5-year rate we're talking about is linked to the bond yield of the government bonds. So it's a figure that fluctuates depending on what's happening in the market. I think we're sitting at about 10.2. Yeah, we're sitting at about 10.2 at this point in time. That's what the yield is. So the interest component is linked to that particular the bond rate that are the government bonds. DDG? Yes.
Thank you very much, MEC. The historical debt that the province is paying today, it's 12.9 billion. So that is then the first installment being paid in September. I think there was that particular then question. And then the subsequent payments will then flow in June, June of every year. So I think that was just then that clarity, I think, on my side that I just wanted to provide. Thank you.
Yeah, so when people were paying for e-tolls, remember it was legal, it was not illegal. And they were paying because they were utilizing the service. So they will not be paid back because it was not illegal. Their money was not collected illegally by government. So I think that would be the answer to that, the first question. And then so we will budget every year. We will budget every year for the next 5 years. In our budget, as we present the budget, you will see the figure about on the e-tolls. And what we are paying, in fact, it's more than 12.9 billion, what we'll end up spending. Because there is a maintenance of roads, which is about 4.1 billion that we have not spoken about. And the interest is calculated for the next 5 years at about 4 billion. So we will lose about 20 billion. And because there were budget cuts in the whole country, as you have seen with education, that's why the minister wants a minister with the Minister of Finance. She wants a meeting. I don't think she will get any money because there isn't. What she has been given, it's what she must use. So we have also cut our lot according to our size. So 15 billion for the next 5 years has been reduced, as the 20 billion, so that's about 35 billion. Griselda, I don't know who said, we said the things you said. So I don't want to repeat them because, you know, when I said no, I didn't say that. Someone will just capture that clip and then circulate it. I want to say what I would like you to capture, and whoever that will put the clip. The Gauteng provincial government will never be bankrupt. So that's the first important thing. Secondly, we are facing difficulties because of these budget cuts and because of the e-tolls. It's difficult, and that's why we are looking at various ways of making sure that we enhance our revenue and we also don't compromise service delivery. So that's what is important, and that's why we were able to find the money, because it's a full-time job. It's a very difficult job. The job that the HOD and DDG and their team are doing on a daily basis. They must think, where do we find money? How do we pay for this, for that? There's problems, litigations, this side, all that. So it's a very, very, very difficult. It's just that we have not been as transparent as we are now, as Treasury. You know, in most cases as Treasury, we only announce the budget. See, through the MECs and the minister, we announce. We never take you through this process where you are asking on behalf of the public, but where do you get the money? You say there's no money, but you are paying. What do you mean? And it's a very important exercise, because then the public will be able to appreciate that we are dealing with a difficult situation. It's not as easy as people think, you know, and that's why we thought it would be important to constantly give you these important briefings, because it speaks to the lives of people. You can imagine if you were to wake up and there's no food in schools, because those kids they are not. It's not an option for them to eat there. It's because where they come from there's no food, so you can't gamble with that. So it becomes important that as a political head responsible for finances in the province, I must be able to address this issue, which is what we are doing here, to say to you, rest assured, you will never have that kind of a situation because we understand that it is important. We will work hard to try and raise more money. I think the issue of the repurposing of the countries is an issue that I think the Department of Transport here in the province and national will have to answer. We only deal with the money. We only deal with the money, so we don't want to speak on their behalf. We've got the most difficult task of paying. Theirs is easy, it's just to repurpose. So I'm sure they are thinking about that. And then everything in government, it's important. So that's why when you budget everything, it's important. Education is important, health is important, everything. And there's never enough money for anything. In fact, last week I did deal with this issue, and I don't know why it was not captured properly, to say there's a problem for health in the whole country. There are 9 billion rand short. The baseline of our health budget is reduced, but for some reason it's understood to be something else that I said, and I don't know why people are trying to deviate. So already their budget is less, and then there are issues that were raised by the Auditor General and all that, manage those differently. But we are working with all the departments, including that department, to ensure that we help each other, including the issue of education. I did have a discussion with MEC of Education because I saw what he said, and he did explain his position. I saw what he said, and we agreed with him that whatever our position is, that whatever intervention we make in education must not compromise the first principle of quality, the quality of education, and that there must not be job losses. So it's a principle. As to how we are going to do it, leave it to us. We will do it. The way we are doing the e-tolls payment, we will make sure that the books balances, no one overspends, no one underspends, and that money is put to good use. That's why you've got the treasury, and there's full-time people there who are working about, how many? 800 people who are working full-time on the finance. It's a big task. It's not easy, you know. So we have spoken with the MECs and we agree, and then the MEC of Education, that whatever we do, we'll try to ensure that scholar transport is not cut, nutrition, and then teachers are not retrenched. And then, well, they did deal with the breakdown and how we do the pay. Yeah. So I think there was the issue of all the alternative streams have been dealt with as well. The stability, the political stability, the municipalities, it doesn't impact much on our financial and revenue streams as a provincial government, but we are interested, and we definitely want stability for the province and for those services that are provided to citizens of the public. It might not be impacting on treasury, but as a resident in any of the cities, if there is no water, there is no electricity, we are all affected, and that has got an impact on the economy. So the impact might not be immediate and direct to us, but it has over a period of time. Yeah.
And I think lastly there was a question about what is the total figure. Oh. The total figure is 43 billion, hence our portion is that 12.93%, 30% of it.
Thank you very much.